Yacht A, welcome to Navajo Sage Weaver Tarot's channel. Thank you guys for coming to my channel. I appreciate it very much. And I am going to start the reading, and I'm going to shake the gourd to move any stagnation energy. All right, so this reading is for my Geminis. So Gemini, this reading is for you. And we are starting off with the Ace of Swords. So Gemini, you're beginning your journey with a clear and focused mind here with the Ace of Swords. Gemini, you're determined to go after your goals with a sharp, um, mind, sharp determination. You got the key here. And then we jump over to the Five of Pentacles here. Gemini may be feeling a period of hardship, maybe some financial struggles, feeling isolated and burdened by some sort of circumstance, right? All you have to do is get up and, you put the key here and you just got to open the door. So then we move to the Eight of Voices. So the Eight of Voices is feeling trapped and constrained. Maybe Gemini feeling struggle to find a way out of your difficulties. Maybe you're feeling, like there's some sort of plague, by maybe self-doubt, right? Or maybe fear. So, and then we move to the Temperance, finding that balance, seeking balance and harmony in your life, and, you know, um, trying to practice, that patience and moderation, finding ways to heal and restore your sense of peace in some way, right? With the Temperance here energy. Then you got the Death here, some sort of transformation that is occurring in your life. Gemini, you're standing in this, where the horses are running and you got a storm on top of your head. So letting go of the old and embracing something, something new in your life, leaving what no longer serves you, saying goodbye to those old ways. Maybe that's what that is right here. Maybe, at the beginning you have a strong mind, you have determination, and the struggle here, whether it's financial or, some sort of fear, maybe you're letting go of like some sort of addiction, um, something that kind of just held you in place, and you weren't really going forward. And so maybe that's something that you used in your life, your journey, for a long period of time, and now that you're in a different space, right, you're letting go of old things, and picking up new lives, new chapters, and um, so you're different. Every day you change, Gemini, and you're different. And so the things that you used to like, maybe you no longer like, right? And so that's what causes Temperance and this Death here, this energy. And then you have the Ace of Cups. Some sort of new beginning, um, some sort of new beginning, some sort of maybe maybe you're opening your heart here, right? And maybe Gemini, you're opening your heart to love and healing, and experiencing that new energy that maybe you're not accustomed to, right? um, And so maybe that's why it was kind of difficult at the beginning here. And then you have the Four of Wands here, which is celebrating, you know, you're celebrating those moments, with your loved ones, finding joy and connection and, support that you receive. And then you have, the Knight of Wands here, being driven, right? He's in his car, his mobile, this Knight of Swords, ready to drive with his, by ambition, right? Determination. Gemini's charging forward with a clear vision, right? Because that's what we begin our story with. And so now you're coming back again, Gemini, with that clear vision, ready to take on any challenge. You're like, okay, I'm learning how to love and be open and stuff, and I see the celebration that it brings, and so now uh, I'm gonna try to take the challenges that come my way. And then you have the Wheel of Fortune here, and the Wheel of Fortune, is turning into your favor, bringing those unexpected opportunities and positive changes, Gemini, embracing those new possibilities, with love and hope. And then you have the Sun card next to it, right? The 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 challenges that you bring to yourself, right? The Sun, experimenting, you got the bird right here, helping you, the messenger, the bird's spirit people, your spirit guides really connected to you. And so they want you to be, they want you to experience this moment. They want you to feel your success and your happiness. They want you to bask in it, right? Feel that warmth, of the sun, you know, um, feel your achievements that you have been, working towards, maybe it's opening your heart, and then you have the Tower here, some sort of unexpected shakeup, right, coming in, turning Gemini's whirl maybe upside down, you know, um, testing, spirits testing you here, your resilience, your strength, and then the Four of Cups here, looking at it, looking at that tower, um, feeling, you know, not feeling fulfilled, right? Some sort of disconnection. You are experiment or you're feeling here, Gemini. Reflecting on your situation. Trying to seek meaning. Of maybe this tower. Asking them those hard questions. Um, what is Gemini? You know, what does Gemini want? In this journey. And so then you got the Page of Pentacles here. And maybe your contemplation is going towards, knowledge, seeking, embracing the learning, you're gaining that mindset so you can learn, seeking opportunities, expanding your skills in some way, your talent, working towards some sort of goal there. And then you have the Page of Materials. Gemini continued to explore your growth, connecting here. Um, finding, ways to apply, your knowledge, you know. How do you apply all this learning here? How do you apply it? And so that's what you're doing. You're trying to explore your growth. And then you have the Queen of Swords here. Somebody who's wise, right? Somebody who's rational, who's going to look at the smaller details, you know, who's clear-minded, who's confident in, their decision, standing up for themselves with, and so you're looking at the smaller things here. As you can see, she has some sort of binoculars there. And then you have the Queen of Pentacles. So you have the queens here, right next to each other, the sword and the pentacles. And the Queen of Pentacles, she's the one that nourishes, so maybe you're needing to nourish all this knowledge with the pages, and maybe Gemini, you're finding some sort of stability and balance in that, and your material world. Maybe trying to create some sort of secure, right, environment for yourself. So maybe you're trying to do that for yourself. And then you have the wisdom here, the emotional, spiritual growth that you want to go through. Gemini, gaining and understanding through your experiences, your life journey. This wisdom card here, is experiencing that. You're Gemini, you're becoming more aware of your inner strength, your inner, your inner wisdom. As you can see, like you're opening your shirt and you're like, what the heck? And so, you know, being in that space, you got the Nine of Wands here, you're like, you're not going to give up on yourself. You're going to put barriers up. You're going to block out those that, you no longer want in your space because you found your new wisdom here, because you took time to study. You took time to learn how to connect, right? With the page of materials here, you learn how to explore the growth. And with the queens here, one that's clear-minded, one that's nurturing, and then, bringing those energy, you got wisdom, and now you're like, at this Nine of Wands here, you're like, I ain't gonna let anybody, tear that down. I'm not gonna, despite of the challenges that I have to go through, I'm not gonna, I'm refusing to give up, but I'm gonna fight for my dreams. I'm gonna put boundaries up here. Then you got the King of Cups, Gemini. You're mastering your emotions. You're finding some sort of balance in that, right? You're you want to approach your life with some compassion, so you're working on that, and so then you have the Queen of Wands here. The Queen of Wands, you Gemini becoming, magnetic, right? All these bulls are following you. So maybe you're inspiring others, around you. And so they're you're following your light. You're leading and you're being creative. So whatever the mastering your emotions here, because of that, you're able to lead now. Got people following you. And then you have the Ten of Cups here, Gemini achieving, your emotional fulfillment. You are creating that legacy, you know, um, prosperity for yourselves and your family and your people that you're around. Then you have the Ten of Pentacles again, you know. Um, you have the Ten of Cups, you have the Ten of Pentacles, and so the Ten of Pentacles, is material success, Um, so Gemini creating, you know, creating that material wealth for yourself, for your your kin, your tribe. And then the nine, oh, and then you have the Nine of Pentacles. And the Nine of Pentacles is you're just sitting, enjoying your environment, all your hard work. Having that stability in your financial, right? With the pentacles here, you know, you're using your resources wisely and just enjoying it. And then you have the you're ending the story with this Seven of Wands, you know, Gemini standing your ground and so you're standing your grounds here. You're saying, I'm not going to isolate myself. If you can see the word love here is tattooed on his arm, and here we have the Ace of Cups, opening your heart, and then the Wisdom again, opening your heart again. So having this clear determination of opening your heart to love, regardless of all the obstacles that you're going through, Gemini. It's not easy, right? Um, and had to use your magician to help you use your magic, right? Because you're a Gemini, you got your twins, so maybe your other twin is assisting you, and so maybe that's why it makes it a little bit challenging here, because you have to debate between those twins. So I just want to tell you, Gemini, that is your story, and I am going to pull one card for you. Okay, take responsibility for every thought and feelings. It can affect the world's universe. That is your daily meditation. All right, Gemini, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to do your reading, and I just want to say Hojona Asklin, Hojona Asklin, Hojona Asklin, Hojana Askli Asheha.